a network.
Last count, I think Harvey said it was at 14,000 people.
Yeah.
Yes, regular, whatever that means, contact.
Yeah. Yeah, he does make a distinction. They're not just contacts, they're people that he's literally friends with now because he's been in communication with them for that long of a time. And they do say that by the time you're 18, you know about 2,000 people. Right? So for most people, it's not that they don't know people, it's that in their mind, they don't know people. Right? In reality, if you sit down and you write mom and dad, and then you write your brother, and then you write your siblings, and then your cousins, and then who your brothers know, and who your cousins know, and your doctor, and who your doctor knows, and you just, if you were to sit down and actually participate in that type of activity, which I really encourage, it's amazingly freeing because you get that you are embedded in a much wider community of people than you think you are. It's just in your own mind, you live in a very small world. So the 1-3-5-7 year game plan is it's generic in a certain sense, but in a lot of ways it's meant to really divide up sort of where the big transitions come for people. So I usually tell people in the first year of the business, you will get healthy, you will make a little bit of money, you'll meet a lot of people, and for most people you get a big tax break. And so it's essentially a learning year. I know for me, I've only been in the business for 2.5 years, and my relationship to health is absolutely transformed. And I started in the health and wellness field. My understanding of nutrition, the way that I take care of my body, the way that I relate to other people in terms of making sure that they take care of their body and they understand the value of that. I've basically essentially retired from my other businesses, and in June I'm starting a holistic health coaching program. And my whole life has come full circle in the sense that I'm now free to do what I want to do. And when I sat down and thought about what I want to do, I want to do nutrition. If you would ask me 2.5 years ago, nutrition would not have been on my radar. I chose to be in the health and wellness field because it was the next trillion-dollar industry, and I went to the greenest country on the planet that was the most active, and I set up a health and wellness company. So very, very different state of mind. So for people that get into, you guys know Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
A little bit about it.
Yeah, very, very easy read. Even if you have never read anything about finance, don't really care about finance, the book is unbelievably easy to read, and especially as someone at your age, it would be an absolute game changer for you. Okay, so he really, really spells it out very simply. But one of his key points is that the first thing you have to do for long-term big wealth is you have to reduce your expenses. And the biggest expense that we have as Americans is taxes. And so as an American, I think we work 3 months out of the year, 3 to 4 months out of the year just to pay taxes, and you don't have access to being able to get that money back. So one of the fastest, easiest ways to get access to getting those taxes back is obviously having a home-based business, and having people understand that is a huge component of having them see the wider ripple effect that this type of business can have on their lives outside of their health. And making money is understanding how to save money. Year 3, you start making some serious money and settling the foundation for being able to go full time. If that is in fact what you want to do, it does take and obviously this is for your average person. It takes about 3 years to get to the point where you're making good, reliable money, and you have a strong team, hopefully, that's plugged into a good foundation like this, and you have access to being able to free yourself up to start thinking about I can now look at the possibility of moving into this being a lifestyle. Some people can do that a lot faster. It is very, very possible. But just for your average person, that's generally what you want to, your expectations. I always think of it as like your junior year of college, where you've really mastered the basics, you've decided what you want to major in, you have a good foundation, of subjects in the humanities, and now it's your time to, really move into your senior year and work on mastering those skills so that you can actually go out into the world. By that point in time, I really strongly suggest to people that I first start working with, prospecting, contacting, inviting, following up. So those 3 skills. By year 3, you should actually be working on your presenting as well. But really, those are the only 4 skills, because they are the only skills that make you money in this business. The other ones are additional. They're great for people who have mastered those 4 skills. But those are the 4 money-making skills in this position. And one of the biggest contributions that I got from Jordan Kemper when he came and did the training in New Zealand was he said, the people that work with me the first 10 weeks that they're in my business, I don't want you setting up Facebook pages. I don't want you doing all of these things. You focus on very, very basic skills, and until you master those skills, you don't do other things. And I think that's an amazing structure to get from someone from the very, very beginning, is to keep you very focused on one step at a time. You put one foot in front of the other, and you walk before you run. Year 5, financial freedom. So you've replaced whatever your current income is. You have a strong foundation or a team that you're working with. You have 4 strong leaders, 1 on each of your legs, and your business is really turning over on its own. You've hit the level of conscious competence, which means that you have basically mastered something. In all of the 7 basic skills, so I don't think I couldn't remember what the last one was, but it's prospecting, contacting, inviting, follow-up, presenting, learning how to get your people that you bring into the business started the right way, which is an unbelievably difficult skill, and promoting. I missed one in there somewhere, so if anybody knows.
So leadership development or duplication.
Duplication. So basically, you've graduated from an amateur to a pro. So you've graduated and you're ready to go out into the world. And by the time you get to your 5th year, it's like you've now just come out of your graduate program or medical school or whatever the case may be. The biggest thing that I find that has people quit network marketing is that they think that there's some sort of shortcut on the way to this process, and there's no shortcut to this process. You have to put in the time and the energy and the effort and the focus in order to learn the skills to be someone who is skilled in this business. You wouldn't expect to start doing brain surgery on people in your 2nd year in medical school. But the beauty of having a network marketing business is you get paid the entire time that you go to school. So the whole time you go to school, you're getting paid, and that's an unbelievably massive difference between what you would consider a traditional education and the kind of education that you get in network marketing. So year 7 is mastery. So you've got your master's degree in network marketing, and you can live a life of total abundance.
Yay.
And that's really what everybody that gets into this business is looking for: time, freedom, the ability to travel, go around the world, have whatever freedom means for you. That's what you're after, and it's very, very attainable. I don't think, did I write it down there? Yeah. There's not another business model in the world that can take a 40-year-old secretary and turn her into a millionaire in 7 years. There's just no other business model in the world, unless they learn some like financial trading or something at a really high level, something I don't know anything about. But that's the power of network marketing. If you're willing to commit, I usually tell people, give me at least 3 years. If you're not here in 3 years where you're making some serious money and we're having fun together building the foundation of the team, then okay, I didn't do my job, and now I'll give you the permission to quit. but you know, commit to 3 years at least, because if you're willing to commit to 3 years and you're willing to go to convention and you're willing to work on these things, there's just no chance that you won't be there. It's quite small. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can people see that? Are you even looking at the slides? Okay.
We can't see because you're
Oh, okay.
in front of us.
Okay.
It's okay, we'll see, you're gonna stand it out later, we'll
Yeah.
read it later.
All right. So the 8-step process to inviting. So this is like the thing that people fear the most, right? How do I invite people? So that's why I say, really listen to GoPro. He will take the biggest fear that you have and turn it into nothing, because there is such a science around how to do this in a way that is completely congruent with who you are. There's authenticity in it. It's not salesy, and the other person experiences actually being, you know, invited to come to dinner or something. So the 8 steps to the inviting process. The first one is clear the time. So I don't know if you guys have had the experience of having someone call you, and as soon as you answer the phone, they just like have a verbal diarrhea and just start talking to you about whatever it is that they want to talk about. It's not very professional. Okay, so the first thing that you always want to do is make sure that you've caught someone at a good time, and an invitation should never take more than 2 minutes. So you call, clear the time. Is now a good time? They say yes. Great. Do you have 120 seconds for me, or you know, however you want to word that. Step 2, compliment the prospect. So you want to know who it is that you're communicating with, and you want to think about who is that person for you, what have you done together, whatever the case may be. Find something that you actually genuinely respect about that person and speak to that, relate to that person as that thing, and just tell them what that is. And then very simply make the invite. You know, so if I have a friend named Dave who I know has been very successful in business, this is my opportunity. There's even if I think that Dave has made tons and tons of money, and I'm someone who just started in business, right? That doesn't have to be something that intimidates me. I can say, hey, Dave, it's Nathan. I know that you've been really, really successful in whatever. You know, I'm having this thing. So authentic invitation. So there's basically, he goes over 3 different types of invitations. One's a direct, one's indirect, and one's super indirect. I had a guy that I was meeting with today. He's one of the guys that are in my brand new team. He's a personal trainer, and his girlfriend is she's a personal trainer as well, but she's pretty well known in the area, and she does modeling and things like that, right? And he really wanted to figure out authentically, like, I want to bring this up, right? But I don't want to be the guy who's been dating her for 3 months trying to enroll her in my business. And I said, okay, you know, it's actually very, very simple in that type of instance, right? She's in the wellness community, so you just go and you be honest. Hey, listen, I've just started this business. You're in the health and wellness industry. You know this better than anybody else I know. Would you be willing to have a look at what I'm doing and give me your honest feedback? Period. End of conversation, right? That is a great example of a super indirect approach, where it's someone that you're really close with, right? So you have that sort of weird thing that you don't want to do, and so you get them to have a look at what you're doing, and you know, it's a very natural, comfortable process. And once they've actually looked at what it is, they'll either say they're interested or not. And if they're not, you say, great, or you can actually say from the very beginning, look, I know that this is probably not for you, you're super busy, but given that you're in the health and wellness industry, is there anybody that you know that you think might be interested in making, you know, an extra $1,000 a month and have a little bit more free time, right? If you ask someone, do you know anybody that is interested in having an extra $1,000 a month and a little bit more free time, you know, they're probably in their brain going to say, yeah, probably me. So direct approach is my favorite. I mean, you know, everyone has their own style. My style of communication is generally I'll call and say, hey Tom, it's Nathan. You know, maybe we haven't talked in 6 months. I know that we haven't talked in 6 months. Is now a good time? Yeah, great. You know, do you have 60 seconds for me? Yeah, perfect. Listen, you know that I just came back from the U.S. I just set up a new health and wellness industry. I'm looking for people to join me. Would you be open to having a look at what I'm doing? And that's it. Very, very simple. They always say yes. I don't know what your guys' experience is, but about 9 out of 10 people that I have that conversation with will just say yes, because it's a very simple invitation. They may ask you a couple of questions afterwards, you know, what is it, that type of thing, and we can go over how to deal with that as well. The indirect approach is something that I think is also very easy, and it's very effective. You basically tell people, look, I don't know if this is something that will be for you or not, and I can't promise you anything. But if I sent you a video, or if I invited you to whatever, would you watch it? And that's even more successful than the direct approach, usually, generally speaking. Right? They may actually say yes and then not watch what it is that you sent them, but they will 9.9 times out of 10 they'll say yes to that, because there's no pressure on them, there's no pressure on you, right? So the video that I use is Jordan Kemper's. It's about 10 minutes and 45 seconds. It's an absolutely phenomenal 10-minute introduction to what the company is, what the products are, and what the business opportunity is involved as well. I usually tell people, listen, I don't know if this is going to be for you or not, but if I sent you a 10-minute video of my colleague, he's from Chicago, his name is Jordan Kemper, 10 minutes, he gives a very quick synopsis of what we're up to. If I send it to you right now, would you watch it? And they say yes. And that brings us to step 4, which is, when I read GoPro, this made probably, there's 2 things that made the biggest impact on me. One was, don't ask people what they think after they've been to a presentation, because I used to do that. I was in the business for 2 years, trying to figure out why I wasn't terribly effective at getting people to say yes to the business after I presented it to them. And that's because I would always ask them, what do you think? After the business, and the first thing he says in GoPro is, after you finish with the presentation, the only thing you don't want to ask them is, what do you think? So I was like, oh my God. And then the other one is, if I was you. And it's a very, very simple language technique to, and it's not just in network marketing. Jordan Kemper gives a lot of really great examples of where you can actually use this in other areas of your life. You know, if you're coming home from work and you want your wife to have dinner ready for you when you get home, you don't call and say, hey, can you have dinner ready for me when I get home? You know what I mean? You can say, hey, listen, if I stop by the store and pick up, whatever it is, would you be able to have dinner ready when I come home? Then, anytime you lead with offering something, people are much more apt to actually reciprocate and say yes to whatever your request is. So it's a very simple thing, but linguistically, it's a very effective tool. And so that's if I would you, and it's right up here as well. So I don't know if this is for you or not. I can't promise anything. But if I sent you a video about the business, would you watch it? So if I would you. Step 5 is the most important. Anybody that's in business knows that if you screw this one up, you're basically just tanking all of your results moving forward. And that is, you have to get a time commit from people. You can be the master, you can be the absolute guru at the if I would you, and you get so excited that they say, yeah, sure, I'd love to watch it. You go, great, I'll send it to you now. And then you hang up the phone. The person's not going to watch the video, right? Because you haven't set up another appointment for you guys to talk about actually them watching the video. So you have to get a time commitment from that person, A, when they're going to watch the video, and B, when you're going to follow up and talk about how that went for them. And so that one's a little bit, so some people can be a little bit, it can be a little bit uncomfortable sometimes, because for people, they don't like to be held to account. As human beings, generally speaking, I'll speak for myself at least, we don't like to be held to account. And so we don't like to hold other people to account. So if you say to someone, if I sent you a video, would you watch it? And they say yes, you say, great. by when do you think you can realistically watch that by? Right, so if it's a Monday and they say, oh, I can watch it by Wednesday, great. So if I give you a call on Thursday, you'll have it watched for sure, right? And they commit to, yes, great. And then the next thing is the time. So what time works best for you, morning, afternoon, or evening? And they say, well, I work, so evening's best. Great. So if I sent you the video right now, you can watch it by Wednesday night. I'll give you a call on Thursday at 7 o'clock. You'll have it watched for sure, right? And that way you've actually had the person confirm they will watch this video by Wednesday and have you follow up with them 3 times, right? So that's a huge part of the process, because most people leave the scene of an appointment without having booked the next appointment. And the whole point of inviting someone to something is to book the next appointment. So it takes, I think on average they say, and this is in all business dealings, it takes on average about 6 times sitting down with someone before you can actually consummate some sort of deal. You may run into the occasional person who's extremely enthusiastic about what you have to offer and they're ready to buy on site, or whatever the case may be. But in most of the time, trust needs to be built, rapport needs to be built, the person wants to understand what it is that they're actually saying yes to, and most of the time, you want that foundation laid. If you think about a client being someone who is between 1 and 10 in their interest level and their understanding of what you're doing, you really want that person to be about a 7 or an 8 before they actually pull that trigger and make that decision, because then the person is actually, they know what they're getting into, they know what their expectations are, they're well grounded in the conversation that you're having, and they've actively done their due diligence and they've made a choice. And the only way that you can do that is you want to have those 6 exposures all happen within probably 2 to 3 weeks. And the only way that you can do that is if you nail people down to appointments. And when you do it this way, they're the ones making the appointment. All you're doing is asking them questions. They set the appointment every step of the way. They're making a decision about the time. They're making a decision about the day. And if the person says they'll watch it by Wednesday at whatever time it is, and you call them on Thursday, and they haven't watched it, you don't scold them. You just totally got it, love it, life's very, very busy, totally got it. By when do you think you can watch it? You just start the process over again. Does that make sense? Okay. And the other point there is that this is the only reason why people end up chasing people. You will never have the experience of chasing someone, ever, in your business from the very beginning if you do this. Because if the person knows that you're going to call, you're not harassing them. People that end up harassing people in network marketing is because they don't get the permission to make the next phone call. And then they make the call. And if the person doesn't answer, they saw that you called. And then you call again. And pretty soon you call 3 or 4 times because your upline tells you to follow up with people, right? But if you haven't cleared that time and you don't have permission to make that second call, then that's when people, they get weirded out. And that's in, it doesn't matter what industry you're in. You want to get permission to make that call so that they're expecting your call. And if you do a presentation with someone and they say no, they're not interested, and you say, great, I'd love to follow up with you in 3 months' time, see if anything's changed, does that work for you? So that when you do follow up with them in 3 months' time, it's not weird, right? You're always setting expectations that you're going to be in communication moving forward.